Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen's Social Democrats are set to win Denmark's general elections without a majority according to exit polls.
Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó admits to calls with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov during key EU meetings.
Qatar said it is not involved in mediation efforts between the US and Iran and is focusing on defending itself from Iran's attacks.
Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen's Social Democrats and the left-wing bloc are set to win Denmark's general elections, but it appears they failed to secure a majority, according to two exit polls published after voting stations closed on Tuesday evening. The exit polls were conducted by Danish public broadcaster DR and private broadcast channel TV2. They predict the left-wing bloc will take between 83 and 86 seats in the 179-seat parliament. The right-wing bloc is expected to get between 75 and 78 seats, while the centrist moderates are seen as becoming the kingmaker with 14 seats. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, a social democrat who has been in office since 2019, was widely seen as the favorite in opinion polls running up to the election after standing up to US President Donald Trump over Greenland.
Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó has acknowledged that he regularly contacts his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov during private EU meetings on foreign affairs. The Hungarian government had earlier dismissed the allegations as fake news, but Szijjártó acknowledged they were true during a speech on Monday evening. The allegations are explosive, as EU member states are bound by the principle of sincere cooperation, and the content of such meetings is understood to be confidential. In a video posted on social media on Tuesday, Szijjártó rejected claims that he had breached security protocols, insisting that secrets are not discussed at the ministerial level meetings in question. Szijjártó said he also speaks to his counterparts in Serbia, Israel, the United States and Turkey, both before and after EU meetings on foreign affairs. The revelations come as political tensions mount ahead of Hungary's parliamentary elections next month, in which the ruling party is behind in the polls against opposition leader Peter Magyar's Tisza party.
The European Commission has delayed the presentation of a highly anticipated proposal to permanently ban the imports of Russian oil, as the war in the Middle East continues to send shockwaves across energy markets and keep the Brent barrel over $100. It also comes amid a tense standoff with Hungary and Slovakia, the only two member states that still buy Russian oil, over the Soviet-era Druzhba pipeline.
I do not have, first of all, a new date to give. What I can reassure you of is that we remain committed to making this proposal. What the President has been very clear on is that going back to importing Russian energy would be repeating a mistake from the past. It would be a strategic blunder. So we have successfully already put in place and enforce the repower gas regulation, which already banned, as from last Wednesday, the new short-term and long-term gas contracts, and we are determined to continue with other energy forms as well.
The legislation, which is part of the Repower EU roadmap, was tentatively scheduled to be unveiled on the 15th of April, but the date has now been removed from the calendar. The Commission insisted the change in timing did not mean a change in policy, saying the proposal had not been cancelled and would still be published, though no longer by the mid-April date.
Here in Doha and across the Gulf, there's a sense of cautious relief after the U.S. announced it has started negotiations with Iran. For many people here, that's offered a bit of breathing room, at least for now. But officials say Qatar is not out of the eye of the storm just yet. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Dr. Majid Al-Ansari said Qatar is not involved in mediation efforts as it focuses on defending itself from Iran's attacks, and the country reserves the right to respond. At the same time, Dr. Al-Ansari acknowledged Qatar and Iran will have to find a way forward and coexist after the war, but that rebuilding trust will be up to Iran.
Our country has been attacked, our sovereignty has been attacked. We have seen the effects on our economy, on the daily lives of people living here, and we don't take it lightly, and we don't see the attacks on our sovereignty as something that we can live with. Now, that said, obviously living next to 90 million people in Iran, a proud people that we have shared the Gulf with for, as I said, millennia, will continue, and we will have to find a way past this. This is a very difficult moment, but we will find our way out of it. The attacks on the region persists. We remain vigilant. We are not out of the eye of the storm. Well, I can't explain to you why these couple of days were without incident, but what I can tell you is that we welcome any reduction of escalation.
He also condemned the targeting of energy facilities in Qatar and across the region, warning of what he called catastrophic consequences for the Gulf. With the risk of further retaliation still a concern, he says protecting critical infrastructure remains a top priority.
I can assure you that we have taken all possible precautions and planned for every possible contingency with very clear scenarios on possible escalation, but we are confident in our security apparatus right now and our response to the crisis. Plans are being implemented fully, and we have not seen any breakdown within the scenarios that were built for such contingency.
Meanwhile, authorities say it's now safe for people to return to work as part of efforts to restore a sense of normal life. So while there is cautious optimism, there's also real uncertainty. People here are watching closely and waiting to see what happens next. Adil Halim, Euronews, Doha.
Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has lashed at European leaders, accusing the EU of acting in a cowardly manner regarding Iran and claiming that Israel is also fighting the war on behalf of Europe. Bennett made the comments in an interview with Euronews program Europe Today, a few days after EU leaders called for diplomatic engagement to resolve the crisis.
It's a bit cowardly. We are fighting their war. We, in fact, had we not acted, all of Europe would be under a terrible nuclear ballistic missile menace. So we're fighting your war, and we expect not to be, criticized in and on, but we expect your backing. That would be the decent thing to do, but we get it. We have to do the hard job. We're used to it, and we'll do what's right.
Bennett insisted that Israel is fighting the most just of wars and said the military campaign was necessary in order to stop the threat from Iran, despite the immediacy of the threat being widely challenged. When asked whether Israel is working under US President Donald Trump's timeline for the war and whether it would accept a deal, Bennett said it would depend on whether it would align with its objective of completely dismantling Iran's nuclear program. Trump had said on Monday that he would give Iran a 5-day deadline to hold talks and explore the possibility of a deal.
Oli， 那么它呢，主要的功能呢，就是跟游客进行这样的一个日常的咨询讲解，以及包括跟游客之间做一些互动交流、才艺表演。新城通用的机器人，那么它的这个志愿功能呢，主要是多个园区的巡逻、安全的文明体系，它也可以给在这个沿途呢，与我们的这个市民游客做一些这个园区的知识的这些解答问答。你好，我是志愿者小开，高兴为您。亲爱的小朋友，
垃圾不落地，前海更美丽。爱护花草树木，不攀折，不践踏。不是把它让它推到那个。
travail de la restauration, c'est un travail assez complexe puisque ça nécessite à la fois évidemment une réflexion scientifique, c'est-à-dire quelle carte on va choisir de restaurer, et tout un travail, on va dire, technique, quelle technique de restauration on va mettre en œuvre. Le temps qu'on va passer à restaurer une carte dépend évidemment de son état, mais aussi de ce qu'on souhaite en faire.
À la Renaissance, par exemple, la carte était un moyen d'anticiper le monde encore inconnu. Et l'imagination était un instrument de la connaissance. Donc on a cité en fait les explorateurs à aller voir des cartes aller explorer en fait, des régions inconnues qu'on présentait sur les cartes de manière parfois farfelue et assumée comme telle.